Democracy Now! was founded in 1996, the same year as the Telecommunications Act, the same year that Fox News went on the air. And, Amy has been sounding the alarm about the dangers of media consolidation all this time. And I don't know that we were listening.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, directors Carl Diehl and Tia Lessin examine independent investigative journalist Amy Goodman and her work on the news program Democracy Now! In their documentary, Steal This Story, Please. Screened as part of the DGA's documentary series, the film follows Goodman as she becomes a leader in the movement for independent media. Set against some of the most consequential voices of our time, Goodman works to amplify voices excluded from the mainstream and faces off against forces trying to silence her. In addition to Steal This Story, Please, Diehl and Lessin's other directorial credits include the documentaries Trouble the Water and Citizen Coke. Lessin's filmography also includes the documentaries Behind the Labels and The Janes, co-directed with Emma Pildes. Following the documentary series screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Diehl and Lessin, joined by the subject of their film Amy Goodman, spoke with director Ondi Timoner about filming Steal This Story, Please. Listen on for their conversation.
How pumped are we? What a treat, huh? Where are we going to go strike? We have to go do something right now.
Right now.
Right now.
General strike.
Yeah. First of all, ever since I saw this film at the Palm Springs Film Festival, I've been thinking about it and thinking about you. And then I got to go on your show, which was amazing. But you've changed the ending since we saw it. And I think it's a very important update. Please tell me what inspired that and what's the process been, and just starting with you guys, just right off the bat, what are the plans, immediate plans? What can this audience do to spread the word about this now? Yeah.
I'll start with the first part. We changed a little bit of the ending. In the montage, where you first see the Senator Padilla get beaten down by the FBI, and then you see Brad Lander in New York get beaten down by ICE. We decided to make it to extend that montage and show some of the things that have been happening in Minneapolis, in other parts of the country that ICE has inflicted upon this country. And to us, it was important to bring it up to date because the regime is getting more and more desperate and more violent. And we needed to land in this moment that we're in now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this film. And I know it's coming out. We'll circle back around to the release of it. Amy, I was watching tonight again, thinking about East Timor and how you say that changed you and trickle up, the idea of trickle up press and making noise and Steal This Story, Please, the title. How do you even begin to keep up with the atrocities that are happening now when you say it's so important for us to call out what's being done in our name? Now it's literally, there's detention centers everywhere. It's hard to keep up every day. How are you doing it? And yeah.
Well, first, Ondi, I just want to say thank you to the DGA, to the Directors Guild of America, and to these two directors, to Carl Diehl and to Tia Lessin, because their work on this has been really eye-opening, inspiring. So many of you are directors, and whatever it is you're dealing with, it's their craft, it's their genius, their compassion that really brought together something that next week, we're going to have a big event in New York celebrating 30 years of Democracy Now! And, as you saw, started in 1996. Juan will fly in from Chicago. Nermeen was just in Kenya. She's in Paris, and she will come back. And Patti Smith, who you hear at the end, that was from our 20th anniversary. She'll come back for the 30th. And Michael Stipe and so many people, Angela Davis, will gather. And why I bring that up is it is a project of so many people, this brain trust of Democracy Now!, of the producers, of the videographers, the journalists, all of the different people over the years, the volunteers, the people who transcribed the show from 30 years ago. We used the internet before most any show was using it, because it was before there was the word podcast, but we would put our radio show on it so other radio stations could take it. It was free that way, because the other more well-financed networks were using satellites, but we couldn't afford that. And so because we put it online, people in Germany and South Africa and Mexico, they would transcribe part 1, segment 2, segment 3, send it back to us. We'd perfect it and we'd post it. And because it was a morning show, then other journalists from the networks could take those transcriptions. We didn't want to do a weekly show, not a monthly show, but affect the discourse every day with these voices, as Nermeen said, that are so often relegated to the side, if not totally erased, but centering those voices, the experience of people, not the pundits who know so little about so much, explaining the world to us and getting it so wrong, but the people at the heart of the story, the people of East Timor, Ken Saro-Wiwa in Nigeria, whether we're talking about, seeing in that last Gaza mass protest of Jews on the Sabbath, it was a Friday night, and their allies, people like, it was a young state legislator named Zoran Mamdani, who you saw there. The only reason he didn't get arrested that day is he had gotten arrested in front of Chuck Schumer's house the week before, and he was concerned he might not be able to carry on his state legislator duties if he was imprisoned. But to hear so many people speaking from their own experience, and then to see Fox describe, because the difference was, this is so telling. At Democracy Now!, it's talking to the people. It's talking to the children of Holocaust survivors who are there shutting down Grand Central. And by the way, Tia is the daughter of a Holocaust survivor. And what was Fox doing? They were just characterized. The ludicrousness, if it weren't so serious, of saying that mass gathering was anti-Semitic, this gathering of deeply educated, mainly Jews, educated by their experience from the Holocaust, to say never again, anywhere for anyone. And it's that inspires me and us, I think, and you, Ondi, every day, is the people who are doing something about it, being the commentators and the analysts, or where we need to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. It brings me to, a question for you two of what to include. There is such a volume, and I noticed the structure. Act 1 is really getting to know Amy, the daughter, the Jewish daughter of a middle-class family, Sonia Bach with the headphone hack that goes awry. Just such heartwarming moments. East Timor, Maurice Spickman, amazing stuff. And your own footage, you following Amy 25 years ago. This is almost a faded film. This has got to be the nearest and dearest to your heart film that you've ever made. How did you begin to even decide what to, now Act 2 is the Telecommunications Act and the formation of Democracy Now! And then, now here we are in the present in Act 3. It's beautifully structured film, but I know you come out of archival you're an expert at that. But like, how do you begin to tell Amy's story? Sum it up in 2 minutes. No.
It wasn't easy because there's a lot of, Amy does a daily show, an hour every single day, and covering anything that's happening in the world of consequence. And so it really is hard to whittle it down to a handful of stories. But what we tried to do was we wanted to learn a lot about Amy also in the process here. And, in Amy's answer to Ondi's question, which was about her, she talked about everybody else. And that's what she does. And that's sort of at the heart of what she does as a journalist also, is it's always about the other people. It's not about herself. It's not about her platform. And so, we followed that, and we had to find ways to reveal some about who this amazing woman is and how it is that she's able to do what she does. So that was the question we asked with every scene, is how does this tell us something new about Amy that we didn't know before? So
I didn't even know about the Zazus.
I mean, Zazu frequently steals all of our thunder at the Q&As, but
I was like, I had a question for Zazu tonight.
Zazu hasn't taken the cross-country trip yet, but maybe in the future. But I will add, we also wanted to capture Amy's lightness of being. It's not something you would see on camera in the morning show when she's delivering the news. She's matter of fact, she's serious, she's rigorous. Off camera, she's just got this joy and as Dave Isay says, her pure love and essence. And we really felt that. I felt that, from 25 years ago when I first met her. But we also wanted the audience to open up and laugh a little bit. So it was really nice to hear you guys take in the lighter moments.
You want to talk about when we first met?
Yeah, I want to hear that. I was going there. Actually, I wanted to clarify for the audience that what we're talking about 25 years ago is that opening scene. And you must have been, I don't know if you met there or prior to that. So let me know that. But also, I don't know how you kept up. How did you all catch?
Well, no, I mean, look, it's an athletic event following Amy Goodman. And you got to have your sneakers on for sure. But no, I had just thrown in, I had been producing for Michael Moore's TV show, and Amy and her team were looking to take their radio show and turn it into television. So they were recruiting some folks, volunteer. Oh, don't tell my union. And I just went down to Philadelphia for the Republican National Convention. I guess that was, who was getting nominated that year?
George W. Bush.
Oh, yeah, him. And so, I went down there. They threw a press pass over my head, and they gave me a camera that I'd never used before. And I just went off and followed Amy and tried to keep up. So the interview you see where she's asking George H.W. Bush, as he's coming down from the convention floor, she's asking him, what do you say to those who call you a war criminal? I shot that. And then when she's putting the microphone in Newt Gingrich's face, asking him to apologize to the women of this country for calling the first lady a bitch. And I just had so much fun following her around. I mean, how could you resist? So when then, Karen Renucci, the producer of this film, approached us years and years later, it was no brainer. We thought, let's do it. Let's do this. I mean, we've been on her show. We've been fans of her show. Amy wants me to tell the story of what happened when I was interviewing. So when Amy was interviewing George H.W. Bush, I looked down at the camera and I had not turned on the camera mic. I'm a director. I'm not a DP. So then I had to break it to her, and she was like, "What?" And then with hardly missing a beat, she's like, "Well, let's just do it again." And we went after George H.W. Bush, and we did it again, and he answered in the exact same way. And I had the mic turned on that time. So.
But, I also wanted to say I'm so honored that Jane Fonda is in the audience. And Jane, Jane did something like that. I once arranged to interview Jane. It was on Zoom at her house. We could only get her on the weekend or something like that. And we worked it out. I had the engineers there working on another. It was probably during the pandemic. So they were in a third place and we did the whole thing. And afterwards, right after, we checked the tape and there was no sound. I thought, oh my God, I just did this whole interview and we were going to run it on Monday. How do I say this to Jane Fonda? And I said, Jane, I don't know what to do. She said, well, let's just do it again. I was so amazed and so touched. So thank you, Jane.
Feel better, Tia?
So all directors in the house, you've got notes on this, right? This is how you really want to bond, turn the sound off. And then you do it again. And that's when you become lifelong friends. It works. What have you learned from this great woman that has changed you as filmmakers over this time? And also, I mean, besides the inspiration of just do it again or ask that question that can't be asked. I can't imagine, what it is to tell this story. This is what we aim to do as filmmakers. This is why we're here. We're here to get to the truth beneath the headlines as documentary filmmakers, I feel. And here we are. I have this button on Block the Merger. I feel like we're right back. We're seeing things happen right now that are threatening the very freedoms that we have taken for granted every single day. And this merger is doing that as well. And it takes me back to 1996.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And earlier. Yeah.
I mean, we got to see this moment through her eyes and through 30 years of her coverage. And everything she was doing then sort of resonated today. It wasn't lost on us that Democracy Now! was founded in 1996, the same year as the Telecommunications Act, the same year that Fox News went on the air. And, Amy has been sounding the alarm about the dangers of media consolidation all this time. And I don't know that we were listening, oh yeah, corporate media. Yeah. And now we're really seeing the impact that kind of ownership has on news organizations, even on journalists who want to do good, who want to tell the truth, who want to report the news, and they are answerable to their bosses. We
were just interviewing Nilu Tabrisi, who is a Washington Post reporter. And she was just laid off with a third of the Washington Post staff. By who? By Jeff Bezos, right? The billionaire owner of the Washington Post and founder of Amazon, who just paid $40 million for the Melania documentary, which is a lot of money, as you all know, for a documentary, and then another $35 million.
It's really a commercial for Melania, really, not
right.
a documentary.
But more importantly, it's just a way to give money to President Trump. And at the same time, as if that wasn't enough, lay off a third of the staff. And so she was one of the first to investigate what looks quite clearly now is a U.S. Tomahawk strike on a girls' primary school in southern Iran, where more than 175 people, mainly young girls, were killed. They laid off almost all of their Middle East staff. So Nilu was no longer doing this investigation, saying when President Trump on Air Force One was saying it was Iran. And she was investigating and saying, and then the New York Times also did an investigation, and now we see what it is, what it quite clearly is. The Washington Post, what Jeff Bezos has done, and what's happening over at CBS. It's not only that they are, to say the least, compromising their staffs, forcing layoffs, but they're paying off the president of the United States. You saw as Tia and Carl captured it. I mean, CBS giving $16 million to Trump because he sued, and he said that the interview with Kamala Harris, the way it was edited. Now, if this case went to court, of course CBS would have won, but they don't go there. It's not worth it to them because they have a $6-7 billion merger they want to prove by the Trump administration. So just giving him that money to pocket, ABC, you know what that was about. George Stephanopoulos said on air that President Trump was found civilly liable for rape, and that had to do with E. Jean Carroll and what he did to her in the department store dressing room, found guilty on all counts of sexual assault. But the judge in the case said, in common parlance, that is known as rape. So if this had actually gone to court, but they obey in advance and they just pay off $16 million to President Trump. So it's not only that they're devastating, wiping out their newsrooms or changing the staffs of these newsrooms to be more amenable to what he wants, but they're giving him millions of dollars.
Well, and it's having a chilling effect. We were at IDFA with the documentary film festival there in November, right on the heels of Trump's threats to sue the BBC. And we heard anecdotally that broadcasters are looking over at their slates to make sure that there's nothing offensive, that they aren't going to be on the chopping block. So it's impacting the news we hear. It's impacting all of us.
Yeah, those are public broadcasters in Europe that we're talking about. So those are pretty deep reach. I want to thank Amy for giving Tia and I a chance to say something in this moment, because we're really, really angry and we don't want to be despondent about it. And Amy makes it impossible to feel despondent. And, we all make films for our own reasons, a lot of reasons. And sometimes it's because we have something to say, which we do. Sometimes it's for friendship, which we have. And all these things kind of came together here. And so thank you for giving us something meaningful to do at this really critical time.
Well, thank you right back, because what you've given us in an hour and a half or however long it is so important, because what we hope, what at Democracy Now! We hope happens with this is that it is seen as a model around the world. Many international documentarians would come to Democracy Now! To say, what is this? They know private media and they know state-owned media. But what is a media that is owned by the listeners, the readers, the viewers who are just committed to independent journalism and having authentic voices, to this belief that media is essential to the functioning of a democratic society. And that is Maria Ressa, the Nobel Peace Prize winning journalist who took on Duterte in the Philippines. He had her jailed. He sued her. Now who's traveling the world and who's in jail at The Hague? Yes, President Duterte. And think of what Maria Ressa said on Democracy Now! The rights we lose today, you may never get back. And when she said that, she came out of the studio and she said to me, people may think, we're in the Philippines and, it's an interesting, unusual story in a place on the other side of the planet. She said, we are saying this here because we are the United States 5 years ago, she said. This already happened to us. It's happening to you.
Amy, you've sort of spoken to this next question of mine, which is, we are sort of the frog in boiling water at this point. And I think we can all feel the water boiling. What do we do? What are we to do? The press is willingly relinquishing their freedom. You're saying that, at least at the top level. And soon it might be just taken. Have you received threats? Are you at all scared for yourself? I mean, you don't seem like you're a very courageous person, but as my sister says, it doesn't mean courage is being scared and doing it anyway. So,
I mean, I learned from the people we interview. They're in much more danger. And also, I mean, as an American journalist, we have enormous privilege and protection. I mean, unfortunately, one of the Oscar-nominated short documentaries is about Brent Renault, a colleague of mine who I work with at DCTV, the place where you saw the rain coming in, and this amazing place that trains thousands of young journalists. But Brent and his brother Craig did the film Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renault. Brent was the first Western journalist to die in Ukraine, and it was 4 years ago, almost to the day now. Their family is coming in for the Oscar ceremony on Sunday. But largely, American journalists, to say the least, are much more protected than other journalists. Think about Gaza, hundreds and hundreds of Palestinian journalists killed there. But we have a privilege that we have to use. Because what we do in this country affects everyone. I once was interviewing a woman from Guyana with a Red Thread Collective, and we ended that segment and we use our music breaks to move out guests and bring in others. We were doing something in the U.S. election. She said, "No, I will be a part of that discussion." I said, "But you're from Guyana." And she said, "Yes. And I believe everyone in the world should get to vote for president of the United States."
That's so true. I think we should open it to the audience because I'm sure that there are many, many questions, and I'll circle back with some if I have time at the end. But I want to make sure that
in the room
everybody has a chance. Questions?
You said not that I speak for everyone. I really think it's important. The way the media works is it makes you feel marginalized. But the fact is, those who care about war and peace, those who care about racial and economic equality, those who care about the climate catastrophe, those who care about LGBTQ issues are not a fringe minority, not even a silent majority, but the silenced majority, silenced by the corporate media, which is why we have to take the media back. Well, thank you. And I see a little team there from KPFK, and I want to acknowledge KPFK land here. The second Pacifica station, KPFA, is the first in 1949, established in Berkeley, California. War resister named Lou Hill came out of the detention camps and said there's got to be a media outlet not run by corporations that profit from war, but run by journalists and artists. So KPFA was born 10 years later here in Los Angeles, KPFK in 1959. In 1960, my station, WBAI in New York. 1977, WPFW in Washington, Jazz and Justice Radio. And 1970, KPFT in the Petro Metro in Houston went on the air. And within a few weeks, it was blown off the air. The Ku Klux Klan strapped dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it to smithereens. When they got back on their feet a few weeks later, rebuilt the transmitter, the Klan used 10 times the dynamite and blew it up again. And then it took months. Then the media came to Houston to see KPFT come back on the air. It's been back on the air ever since. And I can't remember if it was the Grand Dragon or the Exalted Cyclops, because I often confuse their titles. But he said it was his proudest act. And that's because he understood how dangerous Pacifica is, how dangerous independent media is. dangerous because it allows people to speak for themselves. And when you hear someone speaking from their own experience, like the Iraqi man that Jeremy interviewed right before the US invasion saying, what did we do to you? It sounds like your uncle. You see the kids, it sounds like your cousins or your nieces or your nephews. And you may not like that aunt of yours that someone reminds you of, but it makes it much less likely that you'll want to destroy that person. I think the media can be the greatest force for peace on earth. Instead, all too often, it's wielded as a weapon of war, which is why we have to take it back. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I love how in the beginning of the film, one of the key quotes you put in there is you being asked, is it possible to be an activist and a journalist at the same time? And it's like the answer is the film, right?
I think it's
the
impossible not to be.
Exactly. Like, how can you not be at this point in history, certainly right now?
Well, I mean, who are the activists? Right? I mean, the corporate media are activists they're serving power. They're activists for the powerful. And nobody diminishes what they do by calling them activists. It's just a ridiculous conversation, I think. Not ridiculous for you to raise it, but
there's a dumbing down that happens that is really very that's the danger, is the dumbing down. Like you said, it's threading a needle, but it's so important that we don't think about Gaza and the situation there as damning the religion. It's the regime, and
just as when we covered East Timor. I mean, they were invaded by the fourth largest military in the world, by Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world. But it wasn't about Indonesia being a Muslim country. No one accused me of being anti-Muslim. It was about this vast U.S. armed military dictatorship that had occupied this small half island and killed off a third of the population.
Funded by our money.
And trained and financed by the United States.
What struck me about it was everyone you see come in and because of the noise that you and Alan made, everything turned around and suddenly the funding is cut off.
More than what
but they knew the whole time. They just needed to know that it was unpopular. All they care about is us making noise. So it's so inspiring to me, because in that moment I realized, we just have to keep making noise. Because they're just going to keep doing bad things unless we call them out on it. That's it.
If you look at even the New York Times coverage during the rise of the Nazis, a lot of that was relegated to the back pages. They covered it. They covered massacres. They covered the killing squads. Eventually, they covered the extermination camps, but it was not on the front page. So I don't know. I think that the journalists, if you're not fighting for human rights and for the truth, is that activism? During times of slavery, weren't some of the most important newspapers abolitionists?
Passive complicity is how the Nazi regime happened, is what can we do? It's that feeling that you said about, waking up in the morning and feeling totally full of despair. And then watching Democracy Now! And feeling like maybe I can do something. That's what we need to keep stoking. And that's what this film is going to do. And I have to make sure, I will call on 2 more people, but I want to make sure it's April 17th is the day that it comes out all across the country.
We're premiering at the IFC Center on April 10th in New York City. We're coming out to the LA theaters, Laemmle theaters on April 17th. We're going to be
15th and 16th, I think.
We're doing some sneak previews on the 15th and 16th. And then we've got about 50 theaters booked. And counting. We're about 4 weeks from the release. So
it's awesome.
Please help us spread the word. We really need your help. And
how can we do that? How can we help you spread the word?
Well,
is there a site?
Yes.
Thank you for
Thanks, Ondi. The kindred spirit here. StealTheStory.org is our website, and you can find out everywhere. You can sign up there. You can tomorrow. we'll be releasing the trailer, so that'll be on the website. But you've already seen the film. Spread the word. Tell people about the opening. If you think that it's of value, you can see all the cities where we're playing already.
Doing this independently.
Of course, we couldn't get a distributor because everybody's compromised in one way or another. It's really hard for political documentaries these days, and especially one that is, I think, taking on the calling out the corporate media.
That's why this is so important that we make this huge, and we can do that.
And also, I just want
if anybody's on Instagram, please go in there and play around and do your thing on Instagram. Ours is at Steal This Story, Please, the entire title of the film, and we've got a growing presence there. And please help us amplify the word about the film. And I'm talking to you, Nora. Okay,
Okay,
Nora.
let's squeeze in a few more questions.
And also just, Tia and Carl, what they have done, the film going through the film festival circuit, starting with Telluride and moving on to Seattle and St.
How many
Louis.
audience awards now?
They've won 13 awards, almost in all the places. The audience favorite award for documentary or for best film. Savannah was our last one just this past weekend. But this is just a testament to Carl and Tia's talent.
And it's a testament to the fact that I think there's a hunger for these voices, for Amy's voice, and for this kind of filmmaking. And
100%.
we hope that gets proved on opening weekend. But we know that audiences want this content. We're not just interested in true crime and celebrity music videos.
That's
I
all
would
that
make
gets
an
funded.
exception for Zazu.
Yeah, we could have a movie about Zazu. Okay, so just for everybody back there, it's just a brilliant marketing idea. Steal this movie, please. Line up in front of the Lemley, and we have to call our congressmen and women. Get arrested for stealing the movie.
We actually had a jury member at one of the festivals. He loved the film so much that he sent the link to all his friends. And we said, what are you doing? He said, well, it says Steal This Story. I said story, not movie.
Wars for oil from Iraq to Iran to East Timor, it was the same, the Timor Gap and the oil there. Oil is the source of so much pain, not to mention, if we continue to rely on fossil fuels, we're talking about the end of the planet.
Yeah.
The
So,
question,
Deanna, that's a great question.
I'm going to repeat it, the third row. So for everybody in the back, it's just about Climate Week. It's coming up and it's opening alongside, there's Climate Week here. So to tie your film in to that.
LA and in San Francisco at the same time as you're doing
Right.
various screenings.
So your publicist should be getting
Maybe
you.
there's a way to just interweave that because I feel like it's all connected. And
Well,
it's connected.
And then all the wars being based on oil.
For sure. Absolutely. That's an important through line of everything happening in the world right now. And, one of the strategies around our release is, we have to choose sort of how to build partnerships with people who want to build partnerships. And we focused really heavily on community media and on that particular issue because the film speaks so directly to that. But, we care about everything, including plastics, including climate. It's all the same thing. So let's talk after, because if you and your organization want to support a screening or participate in some way, we can figure out a way to do it. So definitely, it goes for everybody here. And the best way to reach us always is through the website, unless you come up to us afterwards. But we're always looking for good partners. How many Amazon deliveries do we get a week, each of us here? You don't have to say it out loud, but that's, those are little things that matter.
I think independent media is what will save us, because if we can broaden the conversation We have so much more in common with the majority of people in the world than often people have with their governments. But it is critical that we strengthen and broaden that conversation. And that's where independent media comes in. And we see the large legacy corporate media breaking down in all sorts of ways for different reasons. And this is a time to say, to talk about how, and we see it all over from Substack to various independent media organizations that are being founded, how important it is that we ensure that these voices get heard, because they're brilliant, they're inspiring. People are putting their lives on the line all over. And to hear an echo of their voices inspires everyone. So I think independent media is where it's at.
And I think that, authoritarian regimes know that one of the best ways to erode democracy is to kill the press, literally and figuratively. And in this country, we just lost the Corporation for Public Broadcasting this year, gone. So many rural stations and stations in indigenous communities are disproportionately funded by the CPB, and they are on the chopping block. So we're hoping to use this film to raise money for those media organizations. But I want to say that I think that courage is contagious. Mm-hmm. And that, when we see people marching in the streets, it makes us maybe a little bit more courageous to do the same, to speak out. There is a No Kings March, March 28th, all across the country. They've been growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And Amy will be covering it. We'll be participating in it.
In Spain, they call it No Tyrants because they have a king.
I mean, there's so many ways, for us as filmmakers, this is what we could do. Folks have different tools at their disposal. But we all, can do something to resist in this moment.
Well, first of all,
where does Amy get her joy from is the question.
I like your hat. He's wearing a Democracy Now! Baseball cap. But it's in the little things and big things. Is that, well, I always think, we began this trip before the first film festival with Isabel Allende, the great writer who wrote House of the Spirits. And, she was traveling around in her little bug, her Volkswagen bug, on another 9/11, another September 11th. It was 1973 in Santiago. Her cousin, Salvador Allende, the democratically elected leader, died in the palace as the Pinochet forces rose to power. U.S.-backed, Kissinger-backed, Nixon-backed Pinochet forces rose to power. And she now lives in the Bay Area, this great Chilean journalist and then writer. And she said, for every thug that exists in the world, there are 1,000 compañeras and compañeros who are there to help each other. What is the hope? What gives me joy? Look at what happened in Minneapolis. I mean, we no longer are talking about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB. Everything is CBP, right? Customs and Border Patrol, and they call protection. And you look at the immigration agents and the people that they have killed and maimed and mutilated and terrorized. But that's horrific. That just instills terror. But the mutual aid groups, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, the artists, the organizers in Minneapolis who said, no, if you're afraid to go out of your house, we'll do your grocery shopping. If you're afraid that you'll be taken on the way to taking your children to school, we'll take the kids to school. It is amazing to see. That is what civilization looks like. And to be able to point the mic in that direction, that's what gives me hope and joy. And Zazu also contribute.
I wanted to ask about Dave's press.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that your family communicated through the letters to the editor. I just love that section so much. And I just wanted to know how the family is and how the family interacts with you today. And that will have to be the last question. But we're all going to talk, of course, afterwards.
Yes.
But yes. Can you fill us in?
Well, Dave is doing great. He grew up mainly, and he is a journalist, and we've written books together, and he lives in Vermont, and he's also writes about the outside, the outdoors, great skier, backcountry skier, and writes about backcountry skiing as well. But a lot of political journalism. And the two brothers that you saw there, David and my brother Steve, who's up at Stanford, deeply concerned about, well, we learned how to say his profession during the pandemic. He's an epidemiologist. That's the first time people understood what those people were doing. More important now than ever. But my family is my nuclear family, and my nieces and my nephews and the people that I work with today on Democracy Now. I did an interview with Amy Littlefield, who just wrote a book called about Roe v. Wade and about how Roe v. Wade was overturned. But her joy in working right now for reproductive rights. She's the abortion access reporter now at The Nation magazine. Seeing all of my colleagues at Democracy Now! Who started at Democracy Now! And have gone out and founded news organizations or continue to do their work, working with Tia and Carl. I think that we have to broaden our sense of family. And when we do, that will end war, because you don't declare war on your family.
I have to applaud and wrap it up at the same time. Tia, Carl, Amy, what an honor and privilege to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, please support the film. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Ondi.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening.